You may not see it right now. You may not understand it in the middle of the chaos, in the heat of betrayal, in the depths of that silent pain. But let me tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. God is not ignoring your suffering. He's preparing a response, not just any response, a divine one. See, the people who hurt you, who lied, who broke trust, who used your kindness as weakness, they didn't win. They planted seeds of pain, but what they didn't know is that God is turning that pain into purpose. He's not just watching from afar, He's working behind the scenes. He's aligning consequences with divine justice. And no, this isn't about revenge, this is about release. God doesn't need your anger, your plotting, your energy wasted in bitterness. He says, stand still, watch me work. The same people who caused your tears will soon face their own reflection. They will experience the weight of what they did, not because you wished it, but because God is righteous. And as they go through what they once put you through, you won't feel satisfaction. You'll feel freedom. You'll look back and realize you didn't need to fight for your own justice. God already handled it. You didn't need to clap back. You didn't need to prove your worth. The pain they caused, God is making them walk through that same fire so they understand the weight of their actions. And while they wrestle with what they did, you're rising. You're being healed. You're stepping into power, into clarity, into peace. There is a new version of you being built right now, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. Your silence was not weakness. It was strength under construction. And the stage God is preparing for your comeback will not include the people who buried you in shame. He's not just relieving your pain, He's reversing it. The storm they brought, it's blowing them into a lesson. The loss they caused you, it's becoming the platform for your next level. So don't look back in anger, look ahead in faith, because God is making them relieve the pain they caused, and He's making you live the victory they never saw coming. Stay focused, stay grounded. This is your rise. You may have cried in silence. You may have walked into rooms pretending everything was fine while your heart was breaking inside. And in those moments, you probably thought, does anyone even see me? Does anyone care about the injustice, the betrayal, the way they walked away like nothing ever happened? Let me tell you right now, God saw it all. Every tear, every silent scream, every night you questioned your worth. None of it was wasted. You were never invisible. You were never forgotten. See, we live in a world that often rewards the loudest, the boldest, the most manipulative. But God, He sees the quiet strength. He sees the heart that stayed pure in the middle of chaos. He sees the loyalty that was thrown away. He sees the pain that was never validated, and He keeps the receipts. You thought they got away with it because you didn't fight back, because you chose peace over pettiness, because you didn't expose them or lower yourself to their level. But that choice, that's what made you powerful. Because you handed the situation to someone who fights differently, someone who doesn't miss a detail, someone who doesn't need a courtroom to deliver justice. While they played games with your emotions, God was taking notes. While they laughed, thinking they won, God was writing a different ending. So don't mistake silence for absence. Just because God didn't act when you wanted doesn't mean He's not moving. He's just working in a way that won't just bring justice to your situation. It'll bring growth to your soul. He's doing it in His timing, in His way. And when it happens, it won't be small. It'll be undeniable. Because when God shows up, the whole situation shifts. And you'll finally realize you were never alone. You were always seen. Pain is not pointless. I know it feels that way when your heart is breaking, when trust is shattered, when you're staring at the ceiling wondering why this had to happen to you. But let me say it loud and clear, your pain has a purpose. The betrayal, the loss, the disrespect. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to awaken something inside of you. Because what if the very thing that broke you was the catalyst for your breakthrough? What if God allowed it, not to punish you, but to prepare you? See, pain is pressure, and pressure builds power. The same way a diamond is formed under heat and pressure, your character, your purpose, your voice is being shaped by what you've been through. They thought they buried you. They thought they ruined you, but they didn't know they were watering the very seed God planted. You didn't lose. You're evolving. You're not weaker. You're being refined. That heartbreak didn't end your story. It revealed your real strength. God is using your pain like a sculptor uses a chisel. Every blow, every cut, every crack, it's shaping a stronger, bolder, wiser you. And when you come out of this, you won't be the same person who walked in. You'll be unrecognizable to the ones who tried to break you because you didn't just survive, you transformed. Stop asking why it happened to you and start asking why it's happening for you. Because God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to elevate you, to teach you, to reveal your calling. So hold your head high. That pain was part of the plan. And soon you'll look back and realize it didn't destroy you. It delivered you. You keep thinking, if I just said this, if I just did that, maybe I could make them feel what they made me feel. But here's the truth that will set you free. You don't need revenge. You don't need to match their energy. You don't need to waste your brilliance trying to make small people understand the pain they caused, because the moment you try to pay them back, you step out of your power and into their chaos. And you weren't built for that. You were built for more. See, revenge is a trap. It feeds your ego for a moment, but starves your soul for a lifetime. The real strength, that's in restraint. That's in choosing not to let the person who broke you control the version of you that rises. When you seek revenge, you're still giving them power. But when you let go and let God handle it, that's where the real shift begins. Because what He can do with their actions is far greater than anything you could plot or plan. You don't need to drag their name through the mud. You don't need to chase justice. You don't need to prove anything. God already saw what happened, and He's not neutral. He's not distant. He's invested in your healing and your justice. When you release the need for revenge, you make space for restoration. You make space for peace. You make space for divine reversal. The people who thought they got away with it, they're already on God's radar. And trust me, when He responds, there's no escape. You are not here to play small. You are not here to chase what will come to you anyway if you stay aligned with truth, with growth, with purpose. So don't let anger turn into bitterness. Don't let hurt become hate. Let God fight what you were never meant to carry. That's how you win, not by clapping back, but by moving forward with fire, with focus, with freedom. You've got all this energy built up from the pain, the betrayal, the disrespect. It's boiling inside you. And the most natural thing in the world is to want them to feel what they made you feel, to want justice right now, to want the last word, the final blow, the moment where they finally understand how deeply they hurt you. But listen to me, you're not here to echo their dysfunction, you're here to break the pattern. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but it always costs more than it gives. It's short-term satisfaction that leads to long-term regret. Why? Because the moment you stoop to their level, you're not climbing, you're circling. And God didn't pull you through all that pain just to watch you stay trapped in a loop of bitterness and retaliation. He's calling you higher. And that higher place, it's not about proving a point, it's about living with purpose. You think you're weak because you didn't react? No, you're powerful because you restrained yourself when your ego was screaming. That's not weakness, that's mastery. You chose wisdom over war, and that's rare, that's divine. God didn't build you to be petty, He built you to be prophetic. To rise, not to retaliate, to lead, not to linger in the pain. Look, He knows what they did. He knows what they said when you weren't in the room. He knows how they manipulated the truth, twisted your kindness, laughed at your loyalty. And while you've been focused on healing, He's been focused on justice. Not karma, divine order. That's a whole different level. It's not messy, it's not loud, it's precise. When God moves, there are no loose ends, no what ifs, just resolution, just exposure, just elevation. So let go of the fight that's not yours to fight. Don't burn energy on people who are already digging their own grave with every choice they make. You don't have to prove they were wrong. Their own life will do that for you. You just keep showing up, keep growing, keep building. Because while they're busy playing games, you're stepping into your God-assigned greatness. This isn't about letting them off the hook. This is about getting yourself free. Revenge ties you to them, but release sets you apart. That's the move. That's the win. And that's where you finally realize you never needed revenge. You needed to remember who you are. What they did to you wasn't fair. Let's call it what it was. Wrong, cold, calculated, and maybe even cruel. They took advantage of your heart, your loyalty, your trust. They played with things you held sacred, and then they walked away like it was nothing, like you didn't matter. But here's what they didn't realize. God keeps perfect records. You don't have to expose them. You don't have to wish bad on them, because the same pain they caused you, they're going to have to walk through it themselves. Not because you cursed them, not because you're waiting on karma, but because you reap what you sow. That's not just a saying. That's a spiritual law. You don't plant seeds of betrayal and expect to harvest peace. You don't bring someone pain and then run from consequence. No, that pain has a return date. And when it comes, it's not going to knock gently. It's going to show up with truth, with clarity, and with weight. God isn't trying to punish them to satisfy your hurt. He's making them face it, to bring alignment to what was broken. What you cried about in silence, they will cry about in reality. What kept you awake at night, they will wrestle with in their own heart, and you won't have to lift a finger. That's the beauty of divine justice. It doesn't come with your fingerprints on it. It comes with God's signature. Quiet, precise, inevitable. And here's the wild part. You won't even rejoice when it happens. You'll feel released. You'll feel like a weight has finally been lifted because God already knew you couldn't carry the burden of payback. You were never built to destroy. You were built to rise. And when they face their moment of reckoning, you'll already be healed. You'll already be walking in peace. You won't need to look back and watch because your eyes will be fixed forward, on purpose, on growth, on destiny. You see, their consequences are coming, not to entertain you, but to restore balance. They're going to feel what they made you feel. And in that moment, the lesson won't just be for them, it'll be for you too. The lesson that God fights for those who remain pure, who stay silent, who choose growth over bitterness. You didn't lose, you learned, you didn't break, you became unshakable. And while they finally meet the mirror of their actions, you'll be standing tall. Proof that God doesn't just see, He responds. They thought your silence meant weakness. They thought because you didn't fight back, because you didn't scream, expose, or retaliate, that they had won, that they broke you. But what they didn't know, what they never saw coming, was that your silence wasn't surrender. It was strength under pressure. It was power under discipline. It was self-mastery in motion. Because only people with real inner strength can choose not to clap back when everything in them wants to. See, reacting is easy. Anybody can react. You push a button, you get a response, but it takes power, real, grounded, spiritual power to pause, to breathe, to walk away, to say, I won't let this pull me into the mud. That's not weakness. That's emotional leadership. That's growth. That's wisdom. While they were trying to trigger you, you were building yourself quietly, patiently, silently. Your silence was your strategy. It gave you space to heal. It gave you clarity they'll never have. You didn't waste energy on proving your point. You invested that energy into your comeback. And that's exactly why they're going to be confused when they see you rising, glowing, thriving. They'll wonder how you're still standing, how you kept your dignity intact while they lost theirs trying to destroy yours. And make no mistake, God saw it all. He saw how you held your tongue when you could have told the truth and destroyed reputations. He saw how you chose peace over war. He saw how you cried in private but still showed up in public. And he said, that's my warrior. That's someone I can trust with more. Your silence spoke volumes in heaven, even when the world didn't understand it. And now God is about to make noise on your behalf. He's about to shake things, not just to vindicate you, but to elevate you. Because when you keep your soul clean, when you don't let bitterness rot your heart, you make room for blessings that retaliation could never bring. You're not where you are today because you reacted. You're here because you restrained. And that kind of power, it's rare, it's respected, and it's rewarded. So the next time someone mistakes your silence for weakness, remember, they just revealed how small their mindset is. But you're too big to shrink, too wise to war, too powerful to be pulled off track. You didn't stay silent because you were scared. You stayed silent because you were strong. Let's take it deeper, because this moment right here, this understanding of your silence, it's critical to your next level. They thought your silence meant submission, that they silenced your power, that because you didn't lash out, you had nothing left. But what they never realized is that you were preserving your energy for elevation. You weren't shutting down, you were shutting them out. You were choosing growth over gossip, purpose over payback, destiny over drama. And that, my friend, takes a level of maturity and self-control that most people never even touch. You see, people who are insecure, people who thrive off chaos, they look for reaction, they feed off it, they feel validated by it. So when you didn't give them one, when you didn't play into their drama or lower yourself to their dysfunction, you disarmed their entire strategy. That silence wasn't weakness, it was warfare, strategic, precise, powerful. because you didn't need to speak to be heard in the spirit. You didn't need to shout to prove your strength. Heaven heard your silence louder than any noise you could have made. And that silence, it was sacred. It was where you were becoming, where your identity was rerooted in truth, where God was dealing with your heart privately while preparing your victory publicly. You were shedding old versions of yourself, breaking generational patterns, choosing to be healed instead of just loud, choosing to let God defend you rather than waste your calling proving you were right. Understand this. Silence is not the absence of power, it's the refinement of it. That quiet season you went through wasn't empty, it was preparation. You weren't ignored, you were being insulated. God was protecting your spirit from contamination, from conversations that would have poisoned your peace, from battles that were beneath your assignment. Because when you're called to purpose, you don't argue with pettiness. You don't fight on their level, you rise above it. And now, here's what's about to happen. They're going to hear about you again. Not because you finally spoke up, but because your elevation will speak for you. Your results, your peace, your progress, they'll all scream what you never had to say. And it'll be louder than revenge. It'll be bolder than any insult they threw at you. Because when God promotes someone who chose discipline over drama, the entire room shifts. And the same people who laughed at your silence will have no choice but to respect your strength. So don't regret that you didn't clap back. Don't beat yourself up for taking the high road. That road was hard, but it led to healing. It led to peace. It led to purpose. And it's about to lead you into a room your enemies can't enter. Not because you kept them out, but because they disqualified themselves when they underestimated the power of your silence. There are moments in life when you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're trying to hold it all together, trying to be strong, trying to find justice in a world that feels unjust. And deep inside, there's this fire burning, a cry for closure, for accountability, for something to make the pain make sense. But here's the breakthrough. You don't have to carry this fight anymore, because God handles what you can't. Let that settle in your soul. God is not asking you to fix what broke you. He's not waiting for you to make them understand what they did. That's not your job. It's His. He's not looking at you and saying, be stronger. He's saying, let me take it from here. See, the burden isn't yours. The pressure to resolve it, to fix them, to make it right, that's too heavy for you. And God never called you to live heavy. He called you to live free. You're not weak for letting go. You're wise. Because letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving it to the one who can actually do something about it. You think justice means getting even. No, justice means trusting that the one who saw what they did in the dark knows exactly how to deal with it in the light. You're not being passive, you're being powerful, because it takes serious courage to say, this is above me now. God doesn't just see the external story. He knows the hidden motives, the conversations behind closed doors, the masks they wore, the manipulation, the betrayal. He's not just fair, he's flawless in his justice. And when you hand it over to him, you're not losing control, you're regaining peace. You're saying, I'm done bleeding over people who wouldn't even acknowledge the wound. I'm done holding on to battles that are delaying my healing. I'm done giving my energy to things I was never meant to carry. Because here's the truth. When you carry a battle that isn't yours, it poisons your spirit, it dims your light. But when you release it to God, you create space for breakthrough. He steps in, He brings clarity, He exposes lies, He rearranges outcomes, He opens doors that were closed and closes doors that were fake. And He does it all in a way that you never could. Not with noise, not with drama, but with divine power. You've cried enough, you've carried enough, you've fought enough. Now it's time to release it, because your healing isn't waiting at the end of your fight, it's waiting at the moment of your surrender. When you stop trying to do God's job, you start stepping into your purpose. And trust this, the same God who saw the wrong will make it right. Not in your timing, but in perfect timing. And when He does, it'll be bigger than you imagined, better than you planned, and more complete than anything revenge could ever deliver. You've been through the fire, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the confusion. You've stood in rooms where no one knew what you were carrying. You've smiled with a broken spirit, showed up when all you wanted to do was collapse. And yet, you're still here, breathing, standing, healing. And let me tell you something powerful. While they're dealing with the consequences of what they did, you're rising, you're evolving. You're not stuck in that old pain anymore. You're becoming someone they won't even recognize. Because this is the season where God separates your story from their shadow. You're not tied to their dysfunction anymore. You're not a victim of their choices. You're not defined by what they did. You are walking into freedom, into growth, into power. While they are being confronted with what they caused, you're stepping into what God prepared. That pain was the soil. You are the seed that refused to die in it. And now you're rising through the dirt, reaching for light, becoming something they never imagined. They tried to bury you in doubt, in shame, in silence. But what they didn't realize is you were too rooted in purpose to stay buried. You're rising in strength, in peace, in understanding. You're gaining wisdom that pain taught you, wisdom they still haven't learned. While they're stuck in cycles of their own making, you're building something lasting. They're trying to survive the storm they caused. You're learning how to dance in the rain. That's what happens when you surrender the pain to God. He uses it to fuel your rise. You become sharper, clearer, calmer. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop shrinking to fit rooms where you were never meant to belong. You stop chasing people who only knew how to take. And slowly, beautifully, power returns to your voice, fire returns to your heart, and purpose starts waking up inside you. You are not who you were when they hurt you. That version of you doesn't even exist anymore. You've outgrown it. You've leveled up. And every time you chose grace over bitterness, you chose healing over revenge. You chose silence over shouting. You were rising. Every moment you wanted to quit but didn't. You were rising. Every time you felt empty but still gave kindness, you were rising. You've been rising the whole time. And now you're about to walk into rooms that reflect who you've become, not who they tried to reduce you to. So don't look back. Don't chase closure. Don't search for justice in people who don't even have peace in themselves. God is handling that. Let them feel what they made you feel. That's their journey. Yours is to rise. And when you do, you'll finally realize the pain wasn't your ending. It was your beginning. You're not just rising, you're resurrecting. You're stepping out of what was meant to bury you and into what was meant to build you. The pain didn't just shape you. It elevated you. You're not surviving anymore. You're transforming. And every day, every breath, every quiet decision to keep moving forward is part of your comeback story. The people who hurt you, they're still circling the chaos they created. But you are walking out of that fire with something they never expected you to find: freedom. Let me say this plainly. You're not who you were when they broke you. That version of you, the one who doubted, begged, explained, shrank, kept trying to be enough for people who were never ready for your light, that version died in the storm. And from the ashes, a stronger, wiser, more grounded, you emerged. You've stepped into a space where you no longer need validation to feel valuable. You've started to understand that your worth isn't up for debate, not by them, not by anyone. While they're over there dealing with the fallout of their choices, with the echo of the pain they caused, you're healing. You're forgiving, not for them, but for you. Because forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse what they did, it means you refuse to let it control your future. You've got too much purpose to waste another second being tethered to a past God already delivered you from. And here's what's even more powerful. You don't even want revenge anymore. You've grown past it. That old version of you might have wanted them to hurt the way you did. But this new version, the rising version, you just want peace. You want alignment. You want purpose. You don't need them to hurt for you to heal, because your healing came from God, not from their apology. And that's why you're dangerous now, because you've detached your breakthrough from their behavior. You've stopped waiting for closure from people who were never capable of giving it. And that's when the real power comes rushing in. This is your time now, not to prove anything, not to fix anything, but to rise, to step into who you were always meant to be. God didn't bring you this far just to survive. He brought you here to flourish. He's about to put you in places they never saw coming. Doors are opening, not in spite of what they did, but because of how you responded. With grace, with strength, with restraint, with faith. So keep going. Don't slow down to explain. Don't look back to wonder. Let God deal with what needs to be dealt with. You've got higher ground to reach. And the beauty of it all, when they finally feel the pain they caused, you won't even be there to witness it. You'll be too busy living the life they never thought you could have. That's your win. That's your rise. You may not fully see it yet, but something powerful is happening inside of you. The pain that once drained you, that once had you questioning your worth, is now becoming the foundation of your strength. Every tear, every sleepless night, every unanswered question, it didn't weaken you. It rebuilt you. You are becoming something unshakable, unstoppable, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. That heartbreak, it made you sharper. That betrayal, it made you smarter. That loss, it made you stronger. You're not the same person who used to second guess, who used to settle, who used to shrink just to be accepted. You've been through too much, felt too much, and grown too much to stay the same. And now you're stepping into a version of yourself that even you didn't know existed. This is the kind of strength that only pain can produce. This isn't surface level confidence. It's earned. It's in your bones now, in your decisions, in the way you carry yourself. You're not moved by petty people or shallow opinions anymore. You've been to the bottom and found out that God still shows up in the dark. You've walked through fire and realized it didn't burn you. It refined you. They thought what they did would destroy you, but what they didn't see was that every wound was turning into wisdom. Every scar was sealing into strategy. Every breakdown was making room for a breakthrough. You don't react the way you used to, not because you're numb, but because you're centered, grounded, focused. You've learned how to respond instead of react, how to build instead of beg, how to rise instead of retaliate. And what's unfolding now is nothing short of divine. You're moving different, speaking different, thinking different. You're becoming the person your past self prayed for. And no, it hasn't been easy. Yes, it still hurts sometimes, but you're no longer defined by the pain. They caused it, but God used it. He turned it into fuel, and now you're rising with power they never thought you'd find. You're not chasing closure. You're not looking for apologies. You're not waiting for anyone to validate your story, because you've realized the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming everything they tried to keep you from becoming. Your healing is your revolution. Your growth is your fire. Your silence, your strength, your elevation. It speaks louder than anything you could have shouted in anger. So understand this, they didn't just wake up the fighter in you, they awakened the force in you. You're not coming back the same. You're coming back unbreakable, and that's what makes you unstoppable. Isn't it wild how the very people who tried to tear you down ended up building your platform without even knowing it? They thought they were destroying you. They thought they were closing doors, damaging your name, stealing your peace. But all they really did was push you into purpose. What they meant for harm, God flipped into fuel. They handed you the very material you needed to rise. Every lie they told, every rumor they spread, every time they left you out, dismissed you, betrayed your trust, it all became bricks. And guess what? You didn't throw those bricks in anger. You built with them. You built character. You built patience. You built self-worth. You learned how to lean on God, how to trust your inner voice, how to walk through the fire without smelling like smoke. That's power. That's growth. And now, that platform you're standing on, they helped build it. Here's the part that gets overlooked. If they hadn't hurt you, you wouldn't have gone deeper. You wouldn't have discovered the resilience that was buried inside of you. You wouldn't have unlocked the level of purpose you're walking in now. Their rejection redirected you. Their cruelty refined you. Their betrayal exposed what needed to heal. And while they were focused on trying to tear you down, they accidentally prepared you to stand taller than ever before. You see, they were tools. God used them, not because he needed their evil, but because he knew how to flip it. That's what God does. He takes broken pieces and builds masterpieces. He takes shattered plans and rewrites them better. You didn't just survive their attacks. You evolved because of them. The same people who thought they were setting you back were actually setting the stage. And now you're standing in a position they never saw coming. Not because you schemed, but because you surrendered. Not because you fought dirty, but because you fought faithfully. You let God handle what you couldn't. You focused on your healing, your growth, your calling, and that's why you're rising. That's why your name is gaining weight. That's why the room shifts when you walk in. They tried to write you out of your own story, and all they did was make your story more powerful. That pain wasn't a period, it was a comma. It paused you so you could pivot. And now, you're writing the chapter they can't control. You are the result of every storm that was meant to drown you, but didn't. Every setback they thought was permanent, but wasn't. Every attack that failed. So don't curse the pain anymore. Don't wish it away. Own it. Use it. Because that platform you're standing on today, it's built from every moment they underestimated you. And your voice, strong, healed, unapologetic, is echoing through places they never thought you'd reach. You're not just moving forward. You're rising with evidence, and that is the most powerful kind of victory. They thought they were breaking you. They thought the betrayal, the gossip, the abandonment, the manipulation would crush your spirit and silence your purpose. But what they didn't know, what they never saw coming, was that every ounce of pain they caused was secretly handing you the raw materials to build something unstoppable. You didn't just walk through the fire. You collected wisdom from the flames. You didn't just survive the storm. They gave you the tools to command the weather. And now, whether they know it or not, they're part of your success story, not because they supported you, but because they sparked it. The pain they caused made you reflect deeper, fight smarter, pray harder. It exposed your real circle, your hidden strength, and your God-given power. It lit something inside of you that even you didn't know existed until they tried to destroy you. And now, they don't even recognize the version of you that was born through that pressure. Listen to me. Your platform is built from pain, but powered by purpose. God took every insult, every backstab, every closed door and said, watch what I do with this, because that's how he works. He doesn't just restore, he reverses. He doesn't just repair, he repurposes. The same mouths that tried to curse you are now watching you become someone they can't explain. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's strategy from heaven. You didn't climb up by stepping on people. You rose up because you refused to let pain define you. You didn't let it harden you. You let it teach you. And now, with every step forward, you're walking on stones they threw, stones that couldn't stop you but actually lifted you. You're standing on experience, on wisdom, on revelation. You're standing in a space where your presence has weight, because people can sense when someone's been through the storm and came out not just alive, but on fire. The platform you now stand on is undeniable, built not from applause, but from adversity, not from comfort, but from crushing. And that platform, it can't be taken away, because you didn't inherit it. You earned it. You didn't fake it. You forged it in silence, in tears, in prayer, in private battles no one saw. And God said, because you stayed faithful when it hurt, I'm giving you visibility they can't block. So let them watch, let them wonder, let them feel the weight of what they did. Not because you want them to suffer, but because it's the natural law of sowing and reaping. They planted pain and now they'll sit with it. While you've risen, not in arrogance, but in alignment, not for revenge, but for divine purpose. Your voice now carries authority. Your story carries healing. Your steps carry destiny. You are the living proof that what was meant to destroy you ended up defining your legacy. This is your moment. Own it. Not to spite them, but to glorify the God who turned every attack into an assignment. And don't be surprised when the same ones who mocked your pain now study your strength. Because you didn't just rise, you became the standard. You've walked through fire and felt like you were running out of air. You've carried hurt, shame, unanswered questions, what ifs. Yet here's the glorious truth. Victory is yours, not because you fought back, but because you let go and let God handle the rest. When you stopped holding rage like a trophy, you opened your hands for peace, healing, and breakthrough. That's divine victory, not driven by bitterness, but by belief. Belief that God is bigger than the wrong, stronger than the wound, wiser than the tear. Holding on to bitterness only kept the wound open. It gave more power to what tried to destroy you. But you chose something different. You chose trust. You chose freedom. You chose to believe God is not just witnessing this, He's writing the ending. And in that surrender, victory found you. You didn't need revenge lingering in the shadows of your soul. You didn't need anyone to apologize or admit fault. All you needed was faith. And with faith, you gained clarity. You gained forward momentum. You gained yourself. Your breakthrough isn't fueled by someone else's downfall. It's fueled by your peace. That inner calm that comes when you know God is dealing with the rest. That spiritual strength that shows up even when the world didn't make sense. That healing presence that makes you walk differently, speak differently, be differently. You didn't earn this by anger. You earned it by letting grace shape you, and grace always wins. So don't chase vindication. Don't replay their betrayal like a broken record. Let your joy be your roar. Let your growth be your answer. Let your impact be their reminder. You didn't just get through it, you came through it. Clean, whole, full of purpose. And now you know you weren't buried. You were planted. You didn't lose. You were being launched. What they did wasn't the end of you. It was the ignition of something unstoppable within you. Every ounce of pain they caused is being returned, not by your hand, but by the divine justice of a God who sees everything. You don't need to chase closure, vengeance, or apologies. You already won. You survived what was meant to break you, and you're still standing, stronger, wiser, more aligned with your purpose than ever before. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about stepping into your destiny without dragging the chains of old wounds. It's about rising in your truth, in your healing, in your power. Let them feel the weight of what they did, not because you cursed them, but because you released them. And that release, that's what freed you. God is flipping the script. He's using your pain as a platform, your heartbreak as healing for others, your silence as preparation for your roar. And while they wrestle with the echo of what they did, you walk forward in peace. Not because it was fair, but because it made you fearless. You are not the victim of what happened. You are the evidence that even pain bows to purpose. And when God writes your story, no weapon, no betrayal, no lie, nothing can stop the power of what's coming next. So walk forward boldly, speak unapologetically, live purposefully, because your rise was never about revenge, it was always about redemption.